Okay, hey everybody. So welcome to this week's M3 class. Got a lot to cover here, and so that's why I was doing research earlier today. So today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Big rally in Bitcoin up 3,000. I think partially a short squeeze, but we'll get into that here in a minute. And we're going to circle all the way, all around all the studies and look at some opportunities. I will say this, I would not be racing into this market. This could still sell off end of the day. We'll pull up the charts here in just a minute, but we're going to look at total market cap and the USDT dominant study, all the other studies, and just see where we are. It is possible that we're having a breakout here, but we've got to make sure that it's going to hold. So with that, we'll go ahead and share my screen and dive in, and we'll cover some news as well. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So before we get started, I'm going to just show this chart here again. This is the line in the sand I've had around 77K. We could even say 78K, but that is the top of the candle real body here. So it's encouraging. I think part of this is a short squeeze. I just posted in the M3 chat. There was quite a bit of liquidations because a lot of people were short. However, this does feel pretty good. If we close above this 77K, 78K, then I think we're going to see a nice counter trend rally, something maybe akin to this. I don't know that we'll go to 100K, but we are waiting on it. I've been saying what would invalidate the bear flag, it would be the Clarity Act passing and a conclusion, let's say, final kind of conclusion, no more kicking the can down the road in the Iranian conflict. And so currently there's talks of a ceasefire, but nothing's definitive yet. There's no leadership there, not to get into the politics of it. But so we have to keep that in mind. And, we know what happens in the afternoons. Tomorrow could even be another sell-off. So just be a little careful with this. We're going to look at some privacy coins, some of the other ones that we've been watching. And, so let's see, stop sharing. So we should be good to go. I've got a little different background on today. At any rate, I've got my OG Bitcoin hat on because I shared that article, and there's new evidence, according to somebody else, that there's two Satoshis, that it could have been two people more than likely. So I guess nobody knows, but it's very interesting. If you see the link to that article, I think I posted that in one of the chats, but very interesting. And their findings on how it might have been Hal Finney, and I think it's Len Sasserman. So there's two people. Let me just draw this, though, and redraw this channel because, we want to be, as we get, the more important these things get, the more carefully you want to draw that. So the fact is, if we break above this parallel channel, and I have it on another chart where we can see that a little bit more easily. I'll come back to that. And if we pull back down, though, this could still roll over. This could be a huge bull trap. So just be careful with that. And but if we can break here, typically the breakout, the place to be buying is the retest. If at the end of the day, if at 8 p.m. Eastern we have held above 78K on a closing basis, and especially if this candle closes near the top, then I think, to start legging into Bitcoin a little bit would make sense. In the model portfolio for mentoring students, I had added Bitcoin a couple days ago, so that was a good call. We just kind of want to be careful of any kind of a pump here. The economy's not well, interest rates, all these things. I think we could see a near-term, short-term pump. Let's get into the news to kind of talk about a little bit more of the why. And let me pull up the chat in case you guys have any questions. And so... and anyway, you might throw this up on YouTube just because I haven't done a video in a while. So if you're watching this on YouTube, this is our M3 Active Trader class. You can learn more about Moonstream, about it at moonstream.io/M3, moonstream.io/M3. And let's see. So with that in mind, let's jump on over to some news and dive into that a bit. So I'm going to cover some news here and then some inside of the TradingView app, which is generally very good. All right, Bitcoin bull score. Sorry, my coffee hasn't hit yet. Got my nice Bitcoin coffee mug there for us to get waking up. Bitcoin bull score hit 6-month high as 2022 bear market fears linger. I assume that's fear and greed. The bull score, I've not heard of that before, but ditches bearish zone. There's millions of indicators. We trust our own, obviously. And let's kind of see what they're talking about. And I don't want to get into all of this. Okay, so it's one of these on-chain metrics. And I'm not saying anything bad about on-chain metrics. They typically lag. They're not sort of actionable. They're interesting. in sort of a longer term time frame, but they're not going to give us that early reversal signal like the ERI and the trend strength indicator or out of our order blocks. So anyway, interesting. What is this based on? Sometimes they don't tell you. I don't want to get into the weeds too much about these, and so this is one called the Bull Score Index. Had not heard of that. There's dozens of these. I think what I'd rather do, if we're going to get into indicators, is go over to the CBBI. The CBBI is an amalgamation. I'm not sure if that's even a word, but you guys know what I mean. Of all of the top indicators, showing this is more of a bull peak score, not a bottoming. But we never got there. I'm going to talk about that today, how I think the bull market may just not have happened and not have happened yet, and we could see that end of the year. So if you guys really want a cool indicator for that, the CBBI is great, and we will look at fear and greed as well. So maybe we'll come back to that. All right, so let me move this over here. And the bull score index here allegedly saying, so bull score price, like with many things, things revert to the mean. If they get oversold, like we were back here in January, and the price is here, this bull score index naturally would revert to the mean, much like as it gets overbought up in this area, it would revert to the mean at some point. This is not really a very useful indicator in my mind. I think fear and greed is going to be a lot more interesting because that has been very accurate over years. When the fear and greed gets down below 10, then often, if not every time, we get back up higher. And then also if we get up around 80, 90, that's generally close to the top. So the point of that is be careful going down the rabbit hole of too many indicators, trying to, less is more. And that's why we created the Crypto Mastery indicators, because any 2 or 3 of those that align is an action. It's a meaningful and actionable score and a trigger, an indicator, signal is the word I'm looking for. Whereas these are not. Okay, so anyway, fear and greed. Let's see. It sits at 32 today. This probably was yesterday, but if we look at the score, it's been down. Last month it was at 8. Right, so it's not a surprise that we're pushing up, and we had, let's call it 6 down months in a row. It's not surprising that April is turning into an up month going into May. May's questionable. May could be when we go to 50K. So we pump into May and then they drop it. Don't be fooled that this was the bottom. On a time basis, we haven't gotten close to that. Of course, we'll talk about that in the study that we have been following here. Which one is it? It is this one here. And we'll jump around a little bit. I'm not going to do too much news on Cointelegraph. I really like the news inside of TradingView, by the way. But just to revisit, we've been talking about this study here that I've been following. Originally, this was a liquidity study. But these ranges have held fairly steady from the all-time high to the next all-time high, generally around 49 months, between 47, 49 months, back in here, 49 months, or 1,491 days. The last cycle was 1,400 days exactly, 47 bars, and this last cycle was arguably the same. Now, we could make an argument that August was, but we hit that peak at 126 back here in October. So that was 47 bars, just like last cycle. These cycles tend to repeat, and breakout ranges similarly, won't talk about that. But as far as from the peak to the bottom of the market is generally 13 or 14 months. And I drew it here. Now this older cycle kind of had, you could make the argument it was here, but it's exactly the same. And so we'll leave it there. It doesn't have to be exact, but pretty close. 13 months here, high to low, and then we reverse this last cycle, 13 months high to low, and we reversed. And then there was that bullish engulfing candle, along with, if you guys remember, I don't have it on this study, but our ERI signal on a monthly time frame. That is what you guys should be watching for, if nothing else. And that's the time to get back into the market as part of our M3 Crypto Mastery signals. And that's the ERI Pro, of course. And as soon as that loads, this is a monthly time frame. Oh, I've got to do this. We're going to drag it onto the chart, merge all scales into one, and there we go. So, and it's caught every market cycle low, all the way back here at the low, here at the low, here at the low, and here at the low. And wait a minute. hold my beer for a second, as they say. Guys, we're getting a monthly ERI. Maybe the bottom is in, because this has never failed. Back here at the bottom, back here at the bottom, back here in the bottom. Now, we're not at the end of the month yet. This could still disappear. But this is starting to check some of the boxes. So I'm glad some of you are here. I'm surprised more of you aren't here today. But back here is what I was referring to. Bullish engulfing candle, but the bullish early reversal indicator triggered here. And I knew, because that's when I was telling everyone, get back in the market. So we have to be cautiously optimistic here and maybe throw out the bear flag. And if you're like, Brett, how did you get this wrong? I was one of the first saying that there was a bear flag. And I've been saying recently that the more other talking heads and experts and gurus that have been saying bear flag, I don't like consensus. And the markets don't like consensus. They like to fool the most amount of people. So let's not get too excited here, but we have a week left in April. And so hear me now, if we have this early reversal indicator intact by the end of this month, we should be bullish. And this cycle will be different. And that's nothing to be nervous about, because what's different this cycle? We have the IBIT, we have the ETFs, we have sovereign wealth funds, we have regulation, Clarity Act. I think probably they are secretly already past the Clarity Act. It's just wink, wink, nod, nod. It's over, and the Iranian thing's lingering on, we're close. I think that they just don't have any leadership left. As soon as they figure that out, they'll be like, okay, yeah, we'll bend the knee here. So, and those two things could certainly send things much higher. Okay, there's no way to know at this point. But look at that. Looky there, everybody. I am going to spend more time on that, because that is the one thing. If nothing else, if you traded only the monthly ERI on a bullish engulfing candle, you win every time. And of course, we called the top here at 124K. It was 126K, but because of the sell order blocks. So let's put this aside for a second. Glad I brought that up. How about you? You guys, it's kind of a historic thing. And I might be the one, if I'm saying it, maybe I'm the first to say, if that ERI holds, the bottom is in. I think the bottom, look, I've been saying the buyers are at 50K. And now we could still see a capitulation wick to 50K and bounce and still close the month green and the ERI stays. We could still see that. So we're still cautious. But if May 1st, if that's still there, I'd be buying Bitcoin and buying everything. So anyway, Bitcoin bull, we talked about that. I want to kind of not get too far on the news here. There's a lot going on. I want to get to the more recent news. Let's see. U.S. Admiral calls Bitcoin an instrument for U.S. power projection. I don't know this is really relevant. And not important to security. Guys, I don't know. This is probably not that exciting today. Strategy, MicroStrategy stock rallies, and Sailor is partially the cause of that spike. I mean, they've bought like $2.3 billion in the last 2 days, and 1.3 in one purchase, and now they have more than the IBIT. Let's see. Bitcoin shares have surged over the past trading sessions as the company recovered its huge crypto holdings to the unrealized profitability zone amid a Bitcoin price rally above 78K. So what that means is the average price of all the Bitcoin that MicroStrategy owns was around 74K. I don't quote me on that. But at some point when it was below that, people were like getting kind of nervous. And then they bought more. And now we're back above 78K. They are back in profitability. So that's good. And guess what? That means he can now float more shares and raise more money on the stretch and strike and those other instruments to do what? You guessed it. Buy more Bitcoin. That's how it works. And so the more the value goes up, the more they can leverage that with debt and buy more Bitcoin. So it's a race. The race is on. Guys, between IBIT and Strategy, in a race to be the first to probably get to $1 billion. Sorry, is it $1 billion? Million? How many do they have? I'm getting all my zeros mixed up. These numbers are staggering, right? So, but to get to, I think it's 100,000, to a million Bitcoin, right? Right there. So currently, Strategy now is 815,000 Bitcoin. IBIT is like 718,000. We'll check. In fact, why don't we check right now and just kind of see what it looks like? Because, the race is on, and I think this is important because continues to buy. Yeah, that was yesterday. Because let me give you an analogy. If you have the two biggest players in the game in a friendly competition to get to have more and win, that's good for the rest of us. And there was a time back in the internet marketing days, I had the two biggest affiliates in the world competing to see who could sell more of my software. I had created a program called Blog Power. When blogs were new, it would index your blog and articles and get things ranked #1 on Google. So I had two of the top affiliates in the world competing to see who could sell more of that. We did $200,000 in a week. And that was great. Till my partner, the programmer, disappeared in Hurricane Katrina, and anyway, that's a whole other story. Finally resurfaced years later, but anyway. So anyway, to technical indicators signal further upside. All right, let's look at this. MicroStrategy formed a double bottom. Probably worth looking at MSTR because that's kind of a leading indicator. MicroStrategy started to dump before Bitcoin did, and people were talking about that. And so if MSTR is pushing up higher, then we should pay attention to that. All right, a couple comments coming in here. Let's see from the active trader class. The month is not over yet. Correct, Ray. Good. Right. And may go away. So this is all true. Nothing's set in stone, but I still would pay very close attention to that. And we'll talk about that when we get to the charts. Francisco says, is the Binance monthly, is the monthly is that a question? In Binance monthly, the ERI is green and a rocket. Okay. Good, thank you we'll check that out. I don't know that we've seen a monthly rocket, but again, I'll temper that with what Ray said. End of the period, so always daily close, weekly close, monthly close, all important. And because if we dump, that ERI goes away and the rocket goes away. It has to be on a closing basis. And look, these market makers of today, they are, I have no doubt in my mind, they are advanced AI-driven algos that have learned and been in learning mode for the last 4 years, the last cycle, of how to beat us silly, emotional humans. So realize that, remember that, know that, because it's still, if we assume that and know that, I mean, empirically, then we can still be on the right side of the trade. It's as Camel says, it's not about being right or wrong. It's on being the right side of the trade and admitting when you're wrong quickly. So, I mean, guys, this bear flag. The market feels strong, so it could go either way from here. We want to remain semi-cautious and take profits when we have them. I was happy to sell Hyperliquid and re-enter, but I'm going to be cautious with that. So from resistance, the stock could surge to 201. I don't have the chart in front of me, but all those big round numbers, though, I would say, yeah, it could surge to 200. Probably reject from there. Let's see. I don't want to talk about MicroStrategy too much. Guys, that's about it on the news. Let's see. Do we want to pull up anything else that's relevant? I don't think so. We pulled up the rainbow chart last time, and we're still, I guess it's worth pulling it up one more time just to see where we are on the scheme of things. And fear and greed we already kind of talked about, and these other ones like Pi Cycle Top, those are topping indicators. But the revised rainbow chart, again, you want to look for the not the old original one, but either way, we could it still shows us hugging the bottom line of the blue zone, which is fire sale and fire sale range. And then if we go to the revised version of it, what did I do there? There's two of them. Hang on a second. Did they take down the revised one? Maybe this is just the new one. No, there's a newer one. Hang on, guys. We haven't pulled this up in a while. Let's look for this. It was at Blockchain Center. Altcoin season, no, rainbow chart. Yeah, okay. It's not, I had the wrong one up. Blockchain Center has it. So either way, though, in fire sale range, the newer version here shows we dipped down into the blue fire sale range, but not for long, so we still have that range, basically that 60,000 price, 57 price. I mean, a wick down in there or a little more time in that blue zone, we would expect to see that. So we're not out of the woods here yet. Okay, with that in mind, let's jump out of that and back over to the charts. Let's see, get out of this here. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin. So we'll go full screen for this. Where it's already selling off a bit. So this was, when you see these big massive moves, partially short squeezes, people that were short here thinking it would reject at the 77K level because it has been rejecting, and seeing that roll over. But it's still, if it holds, it does feel fairly strong. But look at the volume, you guys. Always watch the volume. We did not see a big surge in volume. And you would expect that in a move that's going to sort of survive. So I don't know. I'm still a little bit dubious here. And so the bear flag in this chart, if we sell off end of the day back below, say, 78K, then this would be a bearish topping tail. The topping tails, maybe it's a hammer, maybe it's a doji, but either way, that would mean the bear stepped in and pushed it back down. And, we could still very much be looking at this kind of a move here. So pushing up, rolling over, coming down, and then where she stops. Again, I would not be surprised. Maybe it's 56K, but in May. So we'll kind of have to see what the markets bring. Total market cap, other clues. So on the weekly chart, now on total market cap, again, I'm going to draw this a little more carefully. Using the candle body tops, not the wicks necessarily. So, on the total market cap, we are actually at rejection point. And, that's based on the top here. I guess there's a couple ways you could draw this. And from the bottoming area, that could put it a little bit and give us a little more room to the upside. And sometimes you just don't know till it's over. That says we could push up a little higher, and that could be it could be more like this. And sometimes we don't know until it's too late. And like that. Okay. So I want to be cautious here. Here's the thing. Fridays are usually when we see that sell-off. What if we hold here and push up here and then it rolls over Friday? I don't know, you guys. Really tough time, but we don't have to nail it exactly. If we can get the middle 80%, then we're in good shape. So with that in mind, let's see, what's the 1 hour, 4 hour doing on Bitcoin? We'll get to Monero, which had a nice pump there. So with Bitcoin, so we're hitting a sell zone, and so this is also of interest. One of the ways you could have caught this breakout, by the way, and it triggered my alerts last night. And so that was the ATR. The average true range flipped bullish here. And that was right in here around 77K. So the day traders jumped on that, but we're in a sell block and we have bearish divergence forming on the 4 hour. Okay. So in case any of you ran in guns blazing to buy Bitcoin, maybe not do that. I would lighten the load, maybe sell part of that position. Likely we roll over and retest either way at some point, because if it is a breakout, it'll likely retest. So I think we've covered that. All right, let's I don't know if ETH is all the way down on my list. Let's see, ETH starting to kind of regain, but it has this overhead supply or this trend line resistance here, and that's worth noting. This is still in a downtrend based on this and the 21-day EMA, so I'm not recommending buying ETH. Sol I looked at yesterday, getting a weekly ERI on Solana, but a huge sell block in here. So that's why they're all the way down on the bottom of the list. Let's jump over to Zcash. Zcash is looking good, you guys. And you don't want to go against the trend, but this looks very good. Now, this is what we want to see on any of these. So like Bitcoin, so this bull flag starting to break above. What do we look for? A retest. So we're getting the retest. I'll put a buy alert out on Zcash here. We have the money flow in here. I have the daily cycle low projection coming a little bit in the future. We talked about this a while ago. I think it's on the daily. So we're in the window of where the daily cycle low could be. And these are very good, you guys, especially when they're within a couple days of what? Our early reversal indicator. Here's the daily cycle low, ERI next day, boom. We got the ERI here at support, boom, on Zcash. What are we getting now? ERI yesterday, and they're in the window of the daily cycle low. And that usually shows after the fact. We do have some sell pressure up above, but if we look at a weekly chart on Zcash, looks very good, you guys. A bit of low volume here, but this is money flow. The light green is money flow with the early reversal indicator. The early reversal indicator, didn't need to say that twice. And again, we've moved the site, by the way, onto a new server. It's still at cryptomastery.org. And you can read about it there. Again, if you're watching a replay on that and you don't have these, you need to have these. And then on the weekly, our trend strength indicator also in green on the weekly time frame. That's going to likely continue higher. So, I mean, Bitcoin could go lower and alts led by privacy coins go higher. We're seeing the signal line turning green on the weekly. I'm bullish on Zcash here. And also this other momentum indicator, which you guys don't have, but one that Joe and I have created, mostly Joe. But look for confluence. So with that in mind, let's take a look at Dashcoin. I think I'm again cautiously optimistic on these. We're waiting for the ERI and the TSI to go green on a weekly time frame. So Dashcoin trying to put a bottom in, get above that 21 and 50 EMA, the exponential moving averages. And then I'll turn off the candle indicator on that one. We'll look at it on some of these. But Zcash is setting up potentially for another move. Sorry, Dashcoin also. And we never quite got that third pump up to that $50 range. I would be taking profits on that and waiting for breakout retests. There is a lot of sell pressure up above. But, I like these privacy coins, a weekly time frame. Aztec coin is a new one, pushing up to possible resistance, but you could also draw it this way as a breakout. And let me see on the daily time frame. Very low volume, you guys, though, so this is high risk. Be careful with these. Similarly, the Telegraph TON network in a sell block on that. But is showing that breakout retest and possibly resumption, possible 40% move on that. So I'm watching these, and I always want to say Vesuvius for some reason, but Venice token in a strong uptrend, in trying to get in, stay into price discovery. When in doubt, zoom out. But all the way back here around that $8, $9 range, I think it probably continues higher with any strength in the market. But it is in a sell block, and we don't want to ignore those, so I wouldn't have a large position. Here's a lesson, you guys. I did take a long margin position in Monero last night, and it was pushing higher. It looked good, but the problem with overnight margin positions is they will do this. They will trade against you, and certainly... So I think I probably got stopped out, not liquidated. The liquidation price was down here, and I put my stop loss right in this range. I want to say right below here, and so I got stopped out on that. Better that than this. Live to trade another day. But if you're in the evening and you see a big pump and it's toward the end and it's in the Asia session, pretty good. Pretty much you don't want to be in these with a tight stop. I didn't want to widen my stop all the way down here, although I could have. But, that's I should have just sold it out in the sell zone and waited for today. Sometimes it works out. Like with Hyperliquid, had a good move on that, left that run and stay long for a couple weeks. But I was ready to, it was ride or die, let that go. So what I would do is re-enter Monero, though, at 365 in the middle of this buy block where the money flow is. That's where that M came from. But on the larger time frame, Monero looks very good, you guys. In your spot accounts, if you can get it, we don't have it on Coinbase yet. At least I don't think so. Yeah, no, the Monero, it's strange they don't have it on the U.S. exchange Coinbase, but because it's been around forever. And back to this weekly chart, excellent, riding on this support line, you guys. So Monero is one to hold. I mean, if you're here from the Retire Rich class, some of you I can see are. Because we did not, we're not going to do it tomorrow. I am traveling to a wedding in Mexico. Mike is in France, and our schedules overlapped slightly. So, but I don't see there's going to be a whole lot more that happens here. Anyway, Monero, long-term support trend line, and you can almost call these spider lines. And when you have these lines, you can draw them out well into the future, even multiple years. This is almost 10 years, right? We're 2026 from 2016, and look what's happening. we are supporting, we were riding along. It came down and touched that line here, and it's holding as support right here on Monero. Does it mean it has to stay? It doesn't, but I would suggest it probably goes up to the 700 mark, and that's a double from here. Monero's, as the privacy coins get more traction, keep an eye on that. Also, the weekly TSI inching higher. I would say Monero definitely in buy zone, buy territory. And I would have some. And on the daily time frame, there are some sell blocks that are a little bit closer. And, up in this 485 range. Those of you who are in mentoring, I have these targets for the take profit targets right in here on 480 and up around 560, because these sell blocks are real, and you don't want to, you definitely want to take some profits at the lower end and at the midpoint of these sell blocks. Okay, so you guys have that. I don't see any more questions there. And that covers the privacy coins. We can pull those up. Let's see. I've got a couple other movers. I do still like Horizon Coin. I think this is a sleeper, and it is looking pretty good here right now as of today. Let's take a look and take a minute to look at Horizon Coin ZEN. And look, we got in a little prematurely back here, wrote it down, had a nice pump again. Still a bunch of sellers in this range, but every time you touch a range, they weaken. You take some sellers out, and guys, when do the breakouts happen? On the third or the fifth attempt. So I feel like Horizon's probably going to break out and do that, and then it's going to run again. Look, I think we all that was one I pushed hard in privacy coin profits, and I took a nice lump on that, but preserved capital. I'm going to start buying back in and DCA buying back in here because it has 10x potential if it goes back to its old highs. This thing has been up here, if we zoom all the way out, even higher. But from current prices all the way back to 2022 prices, if we get another phase of this bull run, Horizon could 10x and more from here. Okay, so now's the time to start positioning, and you're going to look back maybe and say, I should have, could have, would have. Like Solana at $8 last cycle. See this nice bottoming rounding pattern? I wouldn't go too heavy. Always use a stop loss. Realize the volume is low, but this is under accumulation. If in Wyckoff's accumulation pattern, the next phase is the markup phase. And so I have alerts already set. Crossing above $7. I might dabble a little here because it's breaking above this trend line resistance. If we can close down in here and zigzag up, but I will be DCAing back in here because, look, in some ways, you never want a revenge trade, but I sometimes look at it as, all right, the market's temporarily holding my money. And that's why, it's good. You need to take losses early. Hyperliquid kind of trying to regroup here, still in an uptrending channel. This, I think, long-term is a good buy, and Arthur Hayes, big proponent of that. But it does have some overhead resistance around 48. That's maybe like a 20% move. I don't know. I would kind of rather wait till that breaks up above that and retests, and then from there, it can go from 50 to 100. But I do like to buy into strength, not trying to catch a falling knife. Arrow, I did put on our radar, and it's in the mentoring buy list. And I put it in there like a week or two ago. I think this is a double bottom on Aerodrome. It's on Coinbase. So they are likely going to, it's on the base chain, so they are going to support this. I would also recommend having some Arrow in your accounts. And, DCA buy. If we do push down lower, set your alerts in the green buy blocks. This is where the buyers are. So if for any reason we dump down in here to the summer and then see a recovery September-ish, you'll still be prepared. But for now, we are seeing a counter trend rally and could even push up into these ranges. Anything could happen. But longer term, looking out 2-3 years in the future, again, in Bitcoin, the rising tide lifts all ships. And, if Bitcoin runs and the ETFs and the IBITs and the sovereign wealth funds keep buying the ETFs, a big buyer of the ETFs are sovereign wealth funds, and they're coming in and buying that a lot, quite a bit, I'm hearing. So anyway, take a look at Pendle here. Pendle kind of looking ready to go, breaking out of this trend channel. We always want to look for, and I was talking to Francisco yesterday in mentoring, always be looking for these parallel trend channels. I'll turn off the Bollinger Bands. But when we can identify a new trend channel early and start to draw the lines of the new one, that gives us an early heads up of where this market could move. Because remember, this was a downtrending channel. Once it broke above that and retested, we had to start looking at, okay, do we have a new trend channel forming? And if you catch that early, remember we had 70% move in Pendle last summer between two of the calls that I made. So, even though it's a little bit premature, since it's broken out of that trend channel, I'm gonna do one of these. It's a guess for now, and you can massage these as we go. But maybe we see a move all the way up to 250, and that would be a 2.5x here. Okay, so again, Wayne Gretzky, greatest hockey player of all time, allegedly, we're interviewed, said, he'll skate to where the puck is going to be. And, I'm sure a lot of them try to do that, but he's the one that made that famous. I almost said famousized. He made that line famous and or infamous. And so we want to do the same thing, try to be where the prices are going to go. So I'm going to temper my excitement and not be in the irrational exuberant phase. But taking a look at things, we're in slight recovery, but we still have these sell blocks. And we might look back at this when ICP, let's say it gets back to $6, and we're like, wow, why did we buy down here? I'm tempted to take a screenshot of that and put it on this chart. I think I will, so that we remember. I'm going to suggest to TradingView that they create a notes or like a folder you can put on the charts. You guys have heard me mention this before. And so we can put all these kind of files in there. So at any point in history, we can come back and say, oh, let me see what was going on back there. News, charting, and let me move that out of the way and copy that. You can actually copy images right onto your chart if you use a tool like Snagit. So I'm going to just put that down in here as a reminder, because that's how you form those new neural pathways too, by the way. But always be kind of questioning things and looking at things. And on that note, Francisco, I forgot to go over to the Binance. What were we talking about? Was it Bitcoin? I think it was Bitcoin. Okay, so I don't think I have Binance on that, but let's turn on the rocket and see. The rocket is off, and did you say monthly? Let's see. This is the index. It's on. Yeah, look at that, you guys. There is a rocket on the monthly. Now the thing is, though, and in ERI. Yeah, that's what you said. Well, guys, if we have a rocket, let me just hear me out, because this is very powerful. I don't know that I've ever seen a rocket and an ERI together on the same day, much less on a monthly. And if we have that, I'm going to be going to the airwaves saying the bottom's in. And because I've been writing a lot about that. I'll dig a little deeper. There are a lot of reasons why the bottom shouldn't be in, but look at that. However, we have a whole week for that to go away. If we sell back down below 76, 75K, both of these disappear. Okay, just remember that. Mentioned that already, but how cool. Very nice. All right, well, look, I think what we want to do here is I don't see many other coins that I want to jump over to some of the other charts. We can look at privacy coins real quick because, those have been hot. Monthly time frame, I don't want to look at weekly bullish ERI on Pirate Chain. What's the TRI? TSI, and then we've got TSA at the airport. We've got all these acronyms. TSI weekly turning green. A Pirate Chain, always good for a little bit of fun in a bull run, but very low volume and can be manipulated on these offshore exchanges. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, join the play, my favorite joke, right? So, but HU looks pretty good. I think it's called Human, but it's pretty low volume. And it's on Kraken. Most of us are on Coinbase. So anyway, here are some I've been hearing good things about. Midnight, but I think it's too early to be jumping on most of these. All right, so if we want to take a quick look at the speculative degen list, now's not really the time to be doing speculative degen when we get into like the bull market mania, but just to see. So Arrow's on there. Circling the wagons, Say is on there. I wonder what's going on with Sui. Haven't heard about Sui in a while, but let's not get ahead of our skis. We have to remain cautious and in the conservative mindset. We have aggressive, conservative, and protective. Protective is kind of when things are really dropping fast, like back on October 10th. Now we can start dipping our toe back in the water in a conservative mode. But until and unless, and here's the barometer. What's the difference? Glad you asked. The barometer is at least on a daily and ideally monthly time frame. We're back above the 21 and 50-day EMAs. And so we are. So we can tiptoe back into conservative mode. And daily runs first. Weekly we're not, though. I mean, really, we'd want to start getting back into aggressive mode. I generally were in a nice firm bull run on top of the 50 and 21 week EMA. Okay, but I don't know, you guys. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm just a realist, and there's a lot of reasons why this feels like a bull trap and a short squeeze and all of those things. So at any rate, let's keep going down the line. A lot of road to cover. We talked about this, but amazing, right? So that I'm curious. Let's see. Let's put a rocket on here as well and look through history and see if we have ever had a monthly rocket before on Bitcoin. And we did back here. It was bullish engulfing, and then it pulled back. So it's very rare to see a rocket on the launch pad on monthly Bitcoin. But what does it signify? It signifies a lot of buyers coming in. It's kind of like the ERI, but it's that chart pattern. And all right, so I'll leave that on there. That's very interesting. Thanks for pointing that out. So, all right, let's keep on moving here. Interesting. Look, I haven't touched this, by the way. Seems to be possibly maybe panning out. I'm stumbling on all my words here today. But where was this dragged from? I think it was like this kind of a move. So this was a fractal from somewhere else. I think it was back here. I don't know. I don't know how I came up with that. But at any rate, look at that. How about them apples? What if we hold 60K as prior resistance? This is a 2-month chart. If we go back to a monthly chart, same thing. It's just kind of zipping out a little bit longer. But God, I do love seeing that monthly ERI right there. Because look at that. Last time it happened, boom. Boom. I don't know. Let's look at our other signals here, you guys. Okay, on a monthly time frame, we have the RSI coming down to this 40 level. Usually we look at it on a weekly time frame, and so it's certainly checking the box on the RSI for some kind of a recovery here. We have seen bounces out of this zone off this trend line support, and we have seen it sort of bounce around and hold here for a while, and that would have been back around November 22. Which isn't really relevant. Well, that was around the bottom. December 2022, when I released my Blood in the Streets report saying, 3 videos. And that's when we relaunched the M3 Active Trader, and I was saying now's the time to buy, and wasn't watching the RSI, or maybe we were, but this is also bullish on that weekly RSI. The 2-week RSI also shows bullish signals here. Getting exciting, so my mouth is having trouble catching up here, you guys. Look, these are starting to flip bullish. We have the money flow down in this zone on the 2-week time frame. Every time it has pushed out of there, we've kind of seen rallies. That was 2014 up to 2017 peak, and then of course the June 19th and the 2021 peak, and then the kind of March 2024 high. It's interesting. I think this was the October high, or was it in here? The RSI and money flow is a little bit lagging, but certainly you can see I have my alert here on crossing up 3650 as a meaningful move there that we want to pay attention to. On the monthly time frame, it hasn't quite gotten down as low as we'd expect it to see, and that's a little bit strange to see them differ so much. Stochastics RSI, generally I'm looking at a 2-month, so let's go at a monthly time frame and see that. But we probably, it looks like we've bottomed here on the monthly, but it's the 2-month that hasn't caught up. The 2-month, the bottoms have been in here, and Jan 19, 20, and then November of 2022, December. So, this shows we could come a little bit lower. Or maybe it's just a lagging. Well, let me just redefine that, though. This is a 2-month, and on the monthly time frame, it's coming down here. So at the end of this month, this will make probably a deeper drop. maybe it comes all the way down in that range. We'll have to see. I don't know why I'm going to click 6 month. There's no point in doing that. Yeah, disregard that. Okay, so let's come out of that. I'm always looking for new ways to look at things to see if I missed anything. On the monthly MACD, by the way, so on this weekly MACD, we're starting to turn up higher, and we haven't seen that since sort of April 25, right? But normally, and the reason and the way that I called the last cycle was the monthly MACD on this crossover. And so now I'm watching the histogram. I also called the top here in November-ish when we were pushing, that was around October was when we hit 126,000. But right now we're watching the histogram. And this January would have lasted longer. So if we are starting to turn, it's certainly possible. But that would be unique. That would be breaking the cycle and be brand new. But, you know, as this asset class matures, it's going to take on new timelines. You know, and I do think, and I've been saying for a year, that I think this timeline will be accelerated. We hit the new all-time high before that last halving, so that was left translated, so that all the money on the sidelines likely going to come in early. And so it could be as late as September, October, but it also could start happening much sooner. And not to forget, we've got the new Fed chair coming in that, you know, they're not pricing into the markets yet for a rate cut. Actually, let's double check that because maybe that's changed. Last time we saw it was a 99% chance that that wouldn't happen. So if we go up under here, and let's see what we're looking for, FOMC and the FedWatch tool. Let's see if that's changed. You know, President Trump's going to put a lot of pressure. No, it hasn't changed at all. 99.5% chance, no change on the next meeting, and that will be in a week. So we'll see. April 29 meeting date. Let's take a look at the June. So May is skipped, and let's see, 350 to 375. Wait a minute. Yeah, no change. No change probably in June, and 98% there. These can change, and yeah, no change. It looks they've already signaled no more rate cuts this year, so it looks like they're going to stick to their guns. But you never know. Okay, any questions, you guys? Let's keep going. We talked about the 50, 100, 200, 300-day SMA, or the week SMAs, rather, and I was speculating, would we come down here and retest the 60,000 range? That would be that purple line, and that would be the 200-week SMA. We've seen that hit a few times in the past. Back here in Feb 19, that was the COVID. Well, that was the beginning of the 2019 bear market. And we just found out about COVID, right? Or wait a minute, 2019? No, that's not true. It was in November we first found out about it. So this was this was something else. But COVID crash held at this 200-week SMA, but it did flash down. The COVID crash down to the 300-week SMA, the white line. And then the last cycle came down, had some trouble with the 200-week, and held the 300-week, had the FTX meltdown, so briefly got below that. And somebody, I think, heard recently that was the 350 week, but, you know, traditionally that's the round numbers, you know, well, 50, but then 100, 200, and 300. So at any rate, this range, the 200 and the 300 week SMA, I have a green circle holding there as a probable buy range, you know, and this bounce could very easily be the prelude to go back down in there. And so we just don't want to let our guard down because that is still in play on the macro side of things. So anyway, we'll see about that. And let's keep going here. So on this chart here, this is the USDT dominance chart. And we see that retracing quite a bit, which is what we wanted to see. And so maybe this is starting to play out where we've seen the top, but it's just too early to know. And this little zigzag here is no longer following. So we're in uncharted water here, you guys. And let's just they're not going to overlap exactly. So we have a big question mark here. So we'll disregard that and revisit that later. So also true on this monthly time frame, the PMI, the US ISM PMI. This is why I think we haven't seen the top of the bull market. We really didn't get the bull market blow off like we saw. And what we need for that is the PMI, or the ISM rather, Purchasing Managers Index, to kind of hit these peaks, at least get up in this range. Whether we draw horizontal trend lines, we just never quite got up in that area, and we've been trapped in this kind of a bullish pattern, bull flag looking, but generally these don't act as bull flags. This is not market driven by the same market participants. At any rate, we were below 50 for quite a while, and somebody mentioned that we can't hit a new high if this is below. So we're back above 50, so that's good. The U.S. net liquidity in M2 over U.S. debt, though, according to Fred, is still below this important level at 76, which was prior kind of support. But this basically means they are not pumping the kind of liquidity into the market that we need, or that we saw in the COVID economy. They pumped billions of dollars in, and that's really what drove that spike. So keep that in mind, and we'll want to kind of watch that. So I think I can't set alerts on this. It doesn't let you, right? So we'll have to keep watching that. If we start pushing higher, though, that'll be a very bullish sign, or maybe we come back and retest this for a later push higher. Anyway, I'll keep an eye on it. Oops, there's the future Vogel Mobile right there. Hopefully, they're wicked fast. Had one a long time ago. Anyway, why did that pop up? Butterfingered that a little bit. So 3-day death cross here. Now, this is a study I did, and this has not played out. Of course, the last several cycles, this is on TradingView. It was marketers or editors pick once, and basically saying when the 3-day death cross happens, generally there's a 50% drop, 50 to 60% drop if we go all the way back, but we don't need to go back that far from the kind of consolidation area down to the bottom. So it happened here, it happened here, it happened here, and we haven't gotten there. That would take us down around 48K, which would align with a lot of where those buyers are. But I submit to you, since we did not have a blow off top, then this would push the cross sooner, right? Because if we had a blow off top in here, the green line, bear with me, the green line would have taken longer to roll over, and it would have crossed later and higher, right? So that the pullback, I think it's reasonable to assume that we won't continue to see 40 or 50% pullbacks. And let's say it was just this 36% pullback. I mean, that's within the realm of reasonability. And so I reserve the right to be wrong in that study. Let's continue going. And then there's this 5-day Gaussian channel. Now, this also in the past has always shown a pretty bad thing happening when we get into this red zone. 60% drops from when it crossed below the Gaussian channel and turned red. We can see that turning red here, and ultimately 60% down, turned red here, 60% down in 2022. So when we cross down, turn red here, that could take us to that. Again, here's that 47,000 number. So I just submit to you, we may likely not have seen the bottom yet, and timing wise and based on these studies. So we'll have to see. Anything can happen. You can always keep updated on my studies here at TradingView and my sort of little channel here. Brett, you can Google Brett Vogel at TradingView and find it. Reminds me I need to do another one. I haven't done one in a little bit, and so let's see. That is the wrong place to search for it. So disregard that. Probably you should be able to click on my icon there, and it'll pull up the where is it? My different ideas and things. Or just do it the old-fashioned way. Go over to Google and say, do it that way. No, not that. Let's see. They used to pop up number one. There you go. Here you go. So basically, if you want to look at those, by the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe. If you want to see more of these, we're going to be doing more of these. I've hired a video editor to cut these out. But if you really want to see the in-depth behind the scenes with our members here in the M3 group, go over to that moonstream.io. We don't promote the program enough, so I'm doing a disservice by not letting more people know about this. And you can find out more about how to join us and read more reviews and things on that page. There you go. And I get some cool bonuses, high probability trading patterns, etc. And then mostly this weekly class that we do every week. And then also these here. So again, on the YouTubes, by the way, if you're one of our students and haven't gone to the YouTube, so make sure to do that. We can find us at Moonstream Crypto. We doubled somehow. I don't know how this happened, but we doubled our followers last month. So kind of gaining some momentum here. Went from 1,000 to over 2,000. So anyway, let's see. What are these showing? These are, is this, oh, that's Instagram. Also 2,000. I was trying to find the YouTube. Moonstream Crypto, YouTube. So we're gaining some traction. It must be doing a good job here at some level, and probably due for another collab with Camel there. Probably gonna reach out to him. So here, Moonstream Crypto, and let's see, where is it? Down there, and you can do at Moonstream Crypto. It's an easier way to find it. At moonstream.crypto. 2,000 subscribers, guys. Do me a favor, if you haven't gone here yet and subscribed, do that. And here's another. Haven't done a video for 12 days, but anyway, getting some nice traction on these, 1.6 thousand. But here's a great interview. All of you that are my students, if you missed the interview I did for Crypto Revealed back in 2021, this is pretty good. I was on the same episode as Robert Kiyosaki and Peter Schiff. And Peter Schiff probably gloating because he was saying gold was going to go up a lot, and he was right. So anyway. Please support us here, and we'll continue doing these. But back to the charts, I would say just be a little careful. We'll see, because we could still easily push up to 86K and reject at the thick ice, right? We're still underwater. We're drowning under. We fell below the ice back here, that 21-week EMA, and then fell below the 50. So drowning, hard to get back above that 50-week EMA. Pretty tough resistance when it breaks down. So we're pushing up. We're above we're resisting at the 21-day, but all of this is resistance in this area, and so we want to pay attention to that. Okay. Anyway, guys, we've got some bullish signs and some bearish signs. It could go either way. I'll keep you posted. A reminder: I'll be out of the country here, but we'll be checking in, and I'll have all my devices, MacBooks, iPads, mobile phones, Samsungs, to keep you posted. And the only question mark is next week's class, where I will be, and we may need to push the date, so we'll let you guys know if it's going to be on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. But probably can do it still Wednesday on the normal time. Guy, I've only missed one class since August of 2021. So all right, guys, thanks very much, and thanks Dr. T and everyone who's here with us today. So keep your eyes peeled, and I'll keep you posted in the private member chats. All right, everyone. Take care. Bye.